Multiplexing, one of the questions before was, do we need to license every end user if we have an intermediary server that only maintains one connection to the database? This is exactly this picture. Multiple users connect to a web server. Behind that web server is a SQL Server database. What I've seen some companies do, because it's the cheapest combination, is they would buy SQL Server license, database license, and they would buy one SQL Server client access license for that device. That is a non-compliant configuration. Client access licenses must be licensed for the end consumer of the data or a service or anything like that. You may not use any pooling, any middleware to reduce the number of required licenses. This is called multiplexing. This is called indirect access with other vendors. Same thing. In this case, you don't need the SQL device count on that machine, but you need user counts for all the users that access that web application. Here's a good comment. Multiplexing does not reduce CAL requirements. You need CAL for both direct and indirect access. A company has 20 or 30 meeting rooms. And in each meeting room, they created a service account in Office 365 to which they assigned a Microsoft 365 or Office 365 E3 license. Why? So people that enter that meeting room immediately turn on the TV with the remote and may run PowerPoint or Outlook under that account. The problem here is assigning an Office 365 license to a service account is not forbidden. It's fine. You need it technically by all means. But what a few companies don't do is they don't think that every user that actually operates that computer, that telly, that projector, that uses that license, they also must have equivalent Office 365 license, at least, or higher. So you may not, for the purposes of cost savings, do that trick. Another example from recent experience with Adobe, almost the same. Adobe Cloud Applications. You probably know their license per user, almost like Microsoft Office 365. And we've noticed accounts like Temp1, Temp2, Temp3, Temp4, we ask them, how do you do that? How do you use them? Because we don't like the names of these accounts. You may be at risk. Let's look at that. And they said, oh, we have like 10 or 20 students coming and using these computers through these accounts. But didn't you assign license to these users? And the customer said, did we have to? Yes, you did, because it's a user license. You may not reduce your costs by doing that. When you have service accounts, you may assign Office 365 license to them, but then every user that operates indirectly through that account must also have an equivalent or a bigger license.